Right, well, I'm making a new pattern to make a new mold for my soundproof noise reducers. Now, the original silicon was silicon on the top, on the bottom, and silicon in the middle. Well, I only need the middle part really for the silicon. So what I'm going to be doing is going to be using these plastic washers for the ends. But I'm also going to be using the plastic washers to aid me in my mold casting. And this here is basically, the bottom is blue tack. That's just to seal this. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to pour resin around the circumference of this tube. Well, this is one of my old plastic things, which is the right diameter for the hole, which is in the stand. I'm going to be placing this right smack bang in the middle of this, and I'm going to create a resin ring, and the resin ring will be the same, of a hole in the middle, which is the same size as the hole for where the bearings and the silicon rubber sits inside. So that's this inside where my nails touch in. This circumference here will be up against the outer edge of this tube, which is 14 millimeters. 14 millimeters, not 40. So basically, I've got to make this resin ring out of fiberglass resin, so that it will be solid, so that then I can pour my silicon. And that ring that I'm going to cast is going to sit right in between these two washers, and that will form the wall that's between the inside where the bearing is. The bearing's actually in the middle. I painted it with nail varnish so it wouldn't so it would hold together a bit better. But the wall will be about 1.5 to 2 millimeters around the bearing, and the resin ring will sit directly between these two washers, and then I will just fill it, because I made it kind of spongy. And if you look at, I don't know if I can show you this, but when I squeeze it, it squishes together a bit. Let me just get it still. When I squeeze it, it does compress a bit. So I'm going to be able to inject my silicon into there, and then I'm going to clamp it until it sets, and then I'll have my new molds, and then I'll be placing these washers on either side to clamp the bearings securely so that they can no longer pop out. Well, basically that's what I'm doing at the moment. And I've just knocked my thing over. Doesn't matter. Once I get this in the right position, I'm going to press it down to make sure it doesn't move. Anyway, that's a little update on this. Right, well, I've made my little ring. So now I just have to sand it down because it's a bit, on one side. The back's not so bad, but I'm just going to emery paper that flat, and then that will sit in between a new mold, and it's going to be just right fit. Yeah. So I'm just gently sanding at the moment, and let's see what we have now. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Yeah, so I've got my ring that's going to go in between to form my silicon. It's actually weird doing this backwards. Normally you do a silicon mold to cast the resin, but this time I'm using resin to make a silicone mold, so it's back to front. But yeah, it's for the bearings. So let's just finish it off on some fine. Well, it's not really fine, but it's sort of medium. But it's fine anyway. It's a bit worn out, and we'll just polish up the faces a bit so we get a good seal. I'm not going to bore you with all this. Right, I've super glued the bottom, and I nearly super glue my fingers as well, so that the gap, it's hard to get it on the camera, the gap all the way around is equal all the way, because that gap is basically going to be where the silicone rubber goes, where you see the light through. It's not very big, it's quite thin really, but get it zoom in a bit, get a bit closer. But anyway, it's actually about a millimetre, so it's hard to really see it. See if I can get the magnifying glass, because it tends to make it focus better. It doesn't zoom in, but see if I can. Right, there we go. It looks like it's more in focus. I'll get a light on it. So just getting a light in the right place. Anyway, the middle part is a bit bendy, so that's gonna, this middle part, it's going to be critical that I get that dead straight, because if it's pushed either way, but because I've got it pretty well balanced as it is, I could always remount that ring a bit more, but I've still glued it on now. Well, we'll see. I'll do a test and see what it comes out like. There's nothing to stop me from modifying it any later on, but basically then I'm going to put the other ring on top. I'll get rid of this magnifying glass. It's just stupid thing. Let's see. Now when I put the other ring on top, if I can without it, I don't want to glue that one on. Now we have a sealed container. It will be when it's squished down a bit. As you can see, it's spongy, it squishes down. So I want to get my silicone in there, and I want to squish it down and let it set. Now I'll probably stick it in a vise or a clamp or something, but yeah, I'm a bit concerned about that. When it's compressed, it might splay out and close that gap. That's why I'm a bit worried about. Well, I've got a guide here, this little ring. I have to stick this around it. It does help to keep the everything in line. This little plastic ring helps to keep everything straight. So that's a benefit. That's what I cast the actual resin in, so the resin fits around in that ring perfectly. And I put some tape around that top washer, so that would be central. And then I realised that the bloody hole isn't exactly central. So I've got to basically rotate it and put it in the least resistance. So I've got to turn this ring around so it basically, with the least amount of resistance, drops on, and then I've got to mark it. I'm going to do that next. That seems to be about there, and that should be dead centre. Anyway, let's see if we can shine light through it again with this all on, which is a good thing. Let me just get my LED light up. See if we can see light between the gap. And that looks good to me. That looks like we've got a nice ring all the way around. Perfecto. So what I've got to do now is make some lines, some arrow lines on everything so that I can get everything lined up when I put the silicone in and then pop this on and we should be good to go. And I probably won't squish it down actually because it might, yes, it might spray out that rubber in the middle. But that white part is a good seal anyway, so yeah, I think we're ready to go now. I'm just going to mark this off and try my first new brush silicone bearing sound buffer, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, thanks for watching. Oh, right, well, I've mixed my silicone up. I put it in there, injected it with my syringe, which I need to clean the needle out now, otherwise it's going to set in the needle. It's a kind of long piece of wire time when you need to clean the needle out. Yeah, so I'm just going to let that sit, and we'll see if it's any good. Fingers crossed. Obviously, now that I've got it in, I can't see a damn thing when I hold it up to the light. I can't see through it. There's like spiders in there. There's going to be some trimming to do, I think. But that's no biggie. So, yeah, it's just a question of time now. Okay.